Harry Lambert Hyundai.
Showers and storms continue. A few of them could become strong to severe. Details coming up in your 5 for 6 forecast.
Right now on News Channel 6 at 4, Mega Billions, the jackpot drawing with some big numbers as potential winners line up to buy a ticket.
Plus, the Burke County Sheriff's Office under the microscope will explain who's reviewing the case and why.
And a South Carolina community saying goodbye to an officer who died trying to save someone. Your news at 4 starts now.
Live from Television Park, this is WJBF News Channel 6 at 4.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Brad Means.
And I'm Jenny Montgomery. Thanks so much for joining us. Are you feeling lucky today? The Mega Millions jackpot is up over $1.5 billion. It's the largest in Mega Millions history and the third largest in U.S. history.
Generating a lot of interest, as you might imagine. Hannah Latier covering it all. And I know you talk to people about what they buy if they won. Did you buy a ticket yet?
I did buy a ticket, Brad. This is actually my first time playing the lottery, and I already have plenty of ideas of how I would spend the money, and people I spoke to do too. The odds of winning the jackpot are about 1 in 303 million. If you win, you can take a one-time cash payment of $783 million, or the entire jackpot paid out in annual installments over 29 years. The players tell us they would donate some and then go off the grid.
$1.5 billion. That's a lot of money. And I can do a lot of things with that. First thing I would do, I would go to my church and have all my family to come there. And then I'll sit everybody down and give them an envelope and say, this is your last visit. This will be the last time you see me. So enjoy.
Tune in to News Channel 6 just before our 11 o'clock newscast tonight to find out if you're $1.5 billion richer. And if there is no winner, the drawing will roll over to Friday night. Live in Augusta, Hannah Latier, WJBF News Channel 6.
All right, Hannah, thank you so much. Well, a much calmer day across the sea.
Yes, Brad.
All right, Miller, thanks. A deadly hit-and-run investigation underway in Richmond County. The coroner says a man was found this morning injured at the corner of Gardner Street and Millage Road. He died at the hospital. The driver, accused of hitting him, left the scene, but they found him and he's now in custody. No names in the case have been released. And in Washington County, a man on board a plane that crashed last week has died. 69-year-old Timothy Fisher of Ohio died from his injuries. Now, just days after the plane he was in went down in Sandersville. It happened just after takeoff at the KLN airport. The pilot was also taken to the hospital in critical condition. All flags on state buildings in South Carolina lowered to half staff now for a fallen police officer. A funeral and procession held today for Officer Matthew Ware, just 22 years old, killed when a train hit him last Wednesday. He was trying to save a woman on the tracks. State agents say she resisted help from Hare and another officer.
He put himself in danger to save someone else. And, you know, he knew that what he was going into with law enforcement, but for that to happen, that's going to be a lasting impact on this community.
And as for the woman Officer Hare was trying to save, she's fine. She's now charged with aggravated breach of police. The penalty for that is a $500 fine or 30 days in jail.
And here at home, the district attorney will decide whether charges will be filed on 2 cases involving the Burke County Sheriff's Office. The GBI completed its investigation into whether Burke County Sheriff Alfonso Williams improperly logged training hours for a Waynesboro police officer. Williams' office provided that instruction, but the Waynesboro PD says the officer was somewhere else at the time. The officer has since resigned from the police department. The other case involves spending within the sheriff's office. A man accused of enticing a child for indecent purpose is in custody in Grovetown. Authorities say Roger Bonnet had been exchanging text messages with an investigator who he thought was a child and named a specific location to meet up. They found items he had discussed in his texts and they were in his possession. Then deputies say Bonnet tried to strangle himself with a seatbelt on the way to the detention center. He was taken to a local hospital for treatment and observation and will be sent to the detention center after his release. Today is the last day to cast your ballot in the Republican.
On News Channel 6, why your mental health is just as important as your heart health.
And the FDA approves the first ever pill for postpartum depression.
Race.com.
Your brain and your body, of course, are connected, which is why experts say your mental health is as important as your body is to your overall health. Here's Justin Finch.
Anxiety, stress, and depression can have a negative impact on your physical body, not just your mind. And the reverse is true. Taking care of your mental health can help your physical health, including your heart. The American Heart Association has some tips to help with improving the mind-heart-body connection. The first is practicing meditation regularly. This could be spending time in nature or sitting quietly and focusing on your breathing. These all can have a positive impact on your heart health. The association also recommends getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night, which helps your brain and body. Spend quality time with pets and reach out to connect with and spend time with family or friends. Isolation is not good for your health, mental or physical. Lastly, exercise. Adults should aim for 2.5 hours of moderate activity a week. With this Medical Minute, I'm Justin Finch, ABC News.
Help is on the way for new moms suffering from postpartum depression. The FDA has approved the first oral medication to treat the serious and potentially life-threatening condition. Postpartum depression typically happens after childbirth, but can also begin during the later stages of pregnancy. The medication, called Zurzuvae, is taken daily for 2 weeks. In clinical trials, the treatment improved symptoms in just 3 days.
As early as day 3. And so that's just after 2 doses of the medication. Again, much quicker than the typical serotonin-based antidepressants, which can take many weeks before women start to feel themselves again.
Until now, the only other available treatment has been an IV injection administered in a hospital.
Up next, a look at the rain chances for the rest of this work week.
Miller Hyatt has the forecast for you when we come back.
I'm a turning head. It wasn't just the CS Ray, those storms ripped through.
No, in the east, at least 2 people died, and at its peak, more than 1 million homes and businesses were without power.
The severe thunderstorms downing trees and power lines, destroying homes and cars, and canceling or delaying thousands of flights. Faith Abube has more.
More than 600 severe storms tore through the eastern and southern parts of the country last night. Overnight, 40 million Americans were under high alert due to the severe weather. Tornadoes spotted in several states. In Maryland, 33 adults and 14 children were trapped on a highway for hours after these utility poles were blown onto dozens of cars due to the fierce winds.
This is going to take some time to fix. The damage from last night is significant, and it will take time to make sure that we are getting everything done.
In Harford County, Maryland, fallen trees trapped multiple people in their buildings. Firefighters needing to rescue them. This man had just arrived home.
Walked in to turn my computer on, and bam! It happened. And I had 3 or 4 huge trees fall right onto my property.
A similar scene playing out in Pennsylvania after trees took out the backside of this man's home.
Fuck up the horticulture. It's insane. It's crazy.
In Washington, D.C., federal workers sent home early. At one point, more than 1 million people were without power around the nation due to the storms. In Alabama, authorities say a 28-year-old man was killed when he was struck by lightning while he was working outside. In Tennessee, trees uprooted and cars crushed. These windows shattered at this apartment building from the storms. The storms leaving thousands of passengers stranded after their flights were delayed or canceled. Atlanta, New York, and Washington, D.C. among the cities most affected. And as the cleanup continues in hard-hit areas like here in Maryland, forecasters are warning of another round of severe thunderstorms and flash flooding in the New England area. In Westminster, Maryland, Faith Abube, ABC News.
Coming up, up a burglary caught on camera.
The one moment that the suspect shared with a dog. It has a lot of people talking.
I'm Mike.
Now you know.
Hurricane season is here, and Live Fiber 6 wants you to be prepared. Join us as we break down what you need to know to keep your family safe. High on the Storm, a Live Fiber 6 Hurricane Special, Sunday at 2:30 on News Channel 6.
A golden retriever from the Golden State might be the friendliest guard dog ever.
This is video released by San Diego police showing a burglar stealing a homeowner's bike, but not before getting in some quality time with the dog.
The thief took a minute to pet the puppy, get in some playtime before making off with the $1,300 bike. The guy even said, "I love you" to the dog.
Oh my goodness.
Before he
Wow.
left. That dog is not a good guard dog
Wow.
at all.
You know, do you think maybe, I don't know.
Maybe
the
return it.
thief knows the family.
Yeah, there's something
The
that
dog
seems...
seems to know that person.
Right, and he said, "I love you,
Yeah.
but I'm going to take your family's bike." But maybe now that this has gone viral, he can low-key return it one night, maybe when they're asleep, and then it'll be done.
So,
You know, there's something going on
I
there,
don't
Jenny.
know.
Something that we're not reporting.
okay.
Oh well. Hopefully the insurance kicks in. There is more coverage you can count on next on News Channel 6 at 4:30.
Including raising the wages, what lawmakers are doing to try and double the minimum wage requirement. After the break.
What's on your...
The Live Fiber 6 Skyview Network, sponsored by Terry Lambert Hyundai.
Well, not nearly as stormy today as it was yesterday, of course, but we have a severe thunderstorm watch now for parts of the CS area. We'll talk about this watch and see what it means for the rest of us, all coming up for tonight. Next.
Right now on News Channel 6 at 6, a big drawing for the Mega Millions jackpot tonight. How would you spend $1.5 billion?
Plus, a Burke County Commission meeting surrounding controversy at the Sheriff's Office will have a live report.
And the clock is ticking to cast your vote in the Aiken Mayor's race. News Channel 6 at 6 starts now.
Live from Television Park, this is WJBF News Channel 6 at 6.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Brad.
And I'm Jenny Montgomery. Thanks so much for joining us.
Are you feeling lucky tonight? Well, the Mega Millions jackpot is up to more than $1.5 billion, the largest in that lottery's history, the third largest ever in this country. Hannah Latier, live for us tonight after speaking to people about how they'd spend the cash. Hannah.
Thanks, guys. I bought a ticket. This is actually my first time playing the lottery, and I already know how I would spend the money if I won, and people I spoke to do too. The chances of winning the jackpot are 1 in 303 million. If you win, you can take a one-time cash payment of $783 million, or the entire jackpot paid out in annual installments over 29 years. Players tell us they would donate some and then go off the grid.
$1.5 billion. That's a lot of money. And I can do a lot of things with that. First thing I would do, I would go to my church and have all my family to come there. And then I'll sit everybody down and give them an envelope and say, "This is your last visit. This will be the last time you see me, so enjoy."
Tune into News Channel 6 just before our 11 o'clock newscast tonight to find out if you're $1.5 billion richer. And if there is no winner, the drawing will roll over to Friday night. Live in Augusta, Hannah Latier, WJBF News Channel 6.
You've got just about an hour left to cast your ballot in the Republican. A man accused of enticing a child for indecent purpose is in custody in Grovetown. Authorities say Roger Bonnet had been exchanging text messages with an investigator, he thought it was a child, and named a specific location to meet up. They found items he had discussed in his texts in his possession. Then, deputies say Bonnet tried to strangle himself with the seatbelt on the way to the detention center. He was taken to a local hospital for treatment and observation and will be sent to the detention center after his release.
A deadly hit and run investigation underway in Richmond County tonight, where the coroner says a man was found this morning injured at the corner of Gardner Street and Millage Road. He died at the hospital. The name of the victim has not been released, but we do know now the driver accused of leaving the scene has been identified as 41-year-old Pernell Lee Jr. He was taken into custody this morning on Wheeler Road. He's charged with homicide by vehicle, leaving the scene of an accident, and driving without a license. He's at the Webster Detention Center.
In Washington County, the passenger in a plane crash that happened last week has died. 69-year-old Timothy Fisher of Ohio died from his injuries days after the plane he was in went down in Sandersville. It happened just after takeoff at the Keolan Airport. The pilot was also taken to the hospital in critical condition.
Well, you heard Tim talk about that rough weather yesterday. A South Carolina teenager was killed during the thunderstorms last night. The Anderson County Coroner's Office says Evan Kenley was a sophomore at T.L. Hanna High School. A tree fell on him at his grandparents' house.
I'm a father. I can't imagine, what they're even going through or how you even recover from something like this. We're here as a school district to support where we can and help out the students at T.L. Hanna, the faculty at T.L. Hanna, and obviously the family too.
The death was ruled an accident because of the severe weather.
Coming up, a chaotic brawl in Montgomery, Alabama this weekend.
Details from law enforcement and a look at the charges that are being filed in just a moment. But first, a look at what's ahead tonight on News Nation.
Tonight,
a chaotic brawl broke out on the riverfront in Montgomery, Alabama over the weekend after a riverboat co-captain tried to move a private boat that was preventing his from docking.
officers announcing charges for 3 suspects with more potentially on the way. Rena Roy reports.
Officials releasing new details in the massive brawl that unfolded in Montgomery, Alabama over the weekend. Videos of the fight going viral on social media. Police announcing assault charges for at least 3 people involved, a 48-year-old, a 23-year-old, and a 25-year-old.
The Montgomery Police Department and all of our partnering agencies got together to make sure we're doing all we can to not only bring this case to a close, but prevent it from happening in the future.
Authorities also hoping to speak with this man, identified as 42-year-old Reggie Gray, seen with this chair in hand. Witnesses saying the brawl began when Damian Pickett, the black co-captain of the riverboat that was looking to dock, was untying and attempting to move a pontoon boat belonging to a group of white men. Officials say that pontoon boat was docked in the designated parking space for the riverboat.
You just felt so helpless for that man. Like, there's 5 or 6 of them on him.
Police say the riverboat crew tried to contact the private boat owner to move his boat before things turned violent.
The captain of the Harrier remained away from the dock for nearly 40 to 45 minutes as he attempted to contact the operators of the private boat via PA system. They were only responded to with obscene gestures, curse words, and taunting.
Multiple people seen attacking the co-captain, who tries fighting back, bystanders jumping in to help, including one man seen swimming over to the dock from the nearby riverboat. When the riverboat docks, more people joining in. Police arriving on scene, detaining at least 13 people.
The police chief says, based on current information and after speaking with the FBI, that hate crime charges are not warranted for the 3 white suspects currently charged in this case. Additional charges could be possible. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Send back with us now with a look at the forecast.
Yeah, we're tracking 2 things. We have a severe thunderstorm warning now in effect for Johnson and Emmanuel County until 7 o'clock tonight. Those clusters of thunderstorms are rapidly moving towards the east. What that means for the rest of the CSRA and your forecast all straight ahead.